"Are you a couple?" asked Mr. Daniel, an estate agent in his office, who had received two visitors who wanted him to help them with accommodation. Such occurrence wasn't a strange one, as his office receives different guests every day for the same purpose. But there was something different about two young stars who were seated before him, a male and a female, wanting to rent apartments in the same compound and refusing any other option that would separate them. "No, we are not a couple. We are just thick as thieves," said Etim, a 27-year-old handsome guy. Mr. Daniel looked confused. "Thick as thieves? What do you mean?" Etim and Mavis burst into laughter. "You are from which century?" "Thick as thieves simply mean we are bodies. B of F," she said. Mr. Daniel looked more confused. "B of F? Whatever, let's just go straight to business. We currently don't have two apartments lying side by side that we can give you, though we have two houses adjacent each other, one by the... No options. It has to be two apartments side by side. We are not taking any alternatives," said Etim. Mavis nodded. The estate agent heaved a sigh. "Okay, I will work on it. Give me time. I will get back to you," he said. "Your time starts now, buddy," said Etim. 1, 2, 3, counted Mavis funnily as she and her naughty friend walked out of the office. Etim laughing out loud. Mr. Daniel shook his head when they left. Etim and Mavis were undergraduates who had been best friends since year 2. They became friends due to one thing they had in common. Mavis always understood what Etim had to say but couldn't properly express. Etim is a very brilliant guy but not really outspoken. Mavis is very outspoken. Whenever lecturers asked questions in class, Etim was always among those who would raise his hands to answer the questions. And he doesn't just answer questions, he gives a very unique perspective to the topic on ground. Mavis, on the other hand, has a culture of also raising her hand to elaborate whatever point he made. At first, the class members thought it was just coincidental, but after 6 repeated attempts, they concluded that Mavis liked and wanted the attention of Etim. Why is he always raising her hand to talk after he gives his answer? And the answers always do a proper elaboration to points raised by Etim. It's always as if she is in his mind. Chooks, one of the classmates, had told his friends who were gisting outside the lecture hall one sunny afternoon. Students were sitting around the lecture room waiting for their lecturer. Mavis had passed by Chooks and his friends, which was what prompted the conversation. "I don't even know why they are not friends," Mike said. "I wonder too. The connection is too deep for them not to be friends," said Chooks. Some days later, while in class, the philosophy lecturer had asked a very technical question from the class and none of them indicated interest. He had reframed the question in different ways to tickle their brain into a response, but none of them had an idea. The lecturer had gone on to rain tirades of insults on them. "You nincompoops, all you do with your smartphone is waste your time attending to online gossips that will not shape your life. You won't use your device for sound academic research. The world celebrates producers, not consumers. What do you want to give to your generation?" At this stage, the students were murmuring because they didn't enjoy the way he talked to them. "If I hear any more murmur from you, I will leave this class and I will not revisit this topic again," he said. The class went quiet. Just before he could continue another episode of insult, a hand was raised in the extreme part of the class. All eyes turned at the direction. Mavis had stood up to present her answer. She addressed the topic in such an excellent manner, but her voice wasn't audible enough for the lecturer to hear. Etim was seated 2 rows away from her and had turned his attention on her to get full grasp of what she was saying. "I didn't hear you, lady," said the lecturer. Just then, Etim raised his hand. "I want to elaborate what she said." The classmates laughed. "Mr. Elaborator, well done," they said. "Quiet," Mr. Alloy said. Etim reeled out the point Mavis had said and elaborated it. By the time it was done, there was silence for some seconds as Mr. Alloy stared at him in admiration. Suddenly, he lifted his palms and clapped. Other students were surprised. They joined in the clapping. "He has said it all. Good day, students. That brings us to the end of today's lecture," he said, and walked out. The class members went to him and lifted him up, chanting his praise. The female class members marched to Mavis's seat and surrounded her. "You did well. We are proud of you," the ladies said. Just then, one of the outspoken class members had mounted the podium and called for their attention. "Attention, class," said Chassis. Everyone looked at him. "Are you high this afternoon or what is it?" The classmates had asked him. "If you think Mavis should be the butter on Etim's bread, raise that hand," said Chassis. Almost everyone raised their hand. "If you believe the Lord has brought you here to witness this journey for a reason, say ayaya," the class members responded. Just then, the men had taken Etim to the podium and the ladies had taken Mavis to the podium. "If you agree that these two should become a couple, say yes." The class echoed yes. "By the power conferred on me as the chief commander of this quorum, I hereby confirm you, boo and bay." A thunderous clap emanated from the class. Etim and Mavis were smiling sheepishly. Jazzy continued. "You may now hold your bay," he said. Etim held Mavis and they both left the stage. What was just a subject of amusement for their colleagues had turned out to be one of the best friendships the class produced. Etim had taken it up from there, exchanged numbers with Mavis, looked for her whenever there was class, and ensured they talked every day. Soon, they graduated into visiting each other. At this stage, people thought they were in a romantic relationship, but it was pure friendship. They realized they had a lot of things in common. Their thoughts aligned, their playfulness aligned, too many things aligned about them. One day, both of them had anticipated an event on campus. The posters for the event had decorated the walls of various buildings on campus. Both Mavis and Etim had seen the caliber of speakers coming to grace the event, and they looked forward to the day. They had a previous outing scheduled for the day, but they decided to cancel it for the event. On the D-Day, Mavis had waited for Etim in front of his hostel. He came out, and after exchanging greetings, they went to the amphitheater where the event would happen. On getting there, the hall was full. Many students were also interested in the event. Etim held Mavis and led her through the crowd to a seat. They sat down happily, and after observing the atmosphere for some minutes, they began to engage in side talks, laughing and munching on some snacks. The first speaker was already giving his speech, but both Mavis and Etim were consumed by their gist. Some minutes later, Mavis yawned. "Boring?" asked Etim. "Yes, it is." "I think so too. Let's go." Off they went out of the hall while the event continued. They went to an amusement park from there and had a nice time. 3 hours later, Mavis's roommates were discussing the event. "That event was fire," said Joyce. "You can say that again." "Who was your favorite speaker?" Mavis, who was busy watching a movie on her laptop, had listened to the conversation going on between her roommates. about how powerful the event was, the same event Etim and I found boring. She smiled and shook her head. Mavis had gisted him on the phone that evening. You see, both of us are not serious people. The same event we called boring the other time is what my roommate had been testifying about. A bad influence on me. Don't call this number again, she said jokingly. You have been the bad influence. Since I knew you, I have been very unserious with my life, Etim responded. Mavis was laughing out loud. Are you guys dating? Joyce, her roommate, had asked her as soon as she dropped the call. Mavis heaved a sigh. Why do people ask this question? Does it mean a male and female can't be best of friends with no strings attached? She said, smiling. IT, one of the roommates lying down on her bed, had interjected. In every so-called male and female bestieship, if there is anything like that, there is always a deceiver, and time will reveal the deceiver soon. One of both parties is always in love and longs for more, long before it becomes a matter of discussion between the two. Mavis had laughed as her roommate argued on the topic. Mavis had called Etim again. My roommates are arguing about us. Just listen, she whispered as she left the call on and placed the phone on her table. She joined in the conversation. Some days later, one of their lecturers, Mr. Gerard, had brought in some scripts into the class. He had given his students an impromptu test in the previous class, and the result was out. He only brought 2 scripts into the class, and that was because he wanted to use their answers as reference. Among you all that wrote the test, only these 2 people stood out in their approach. They gave practical solutions, he said. The class members had murmured, talking to one another, trying to figure out who the candidates were. Who is Mavis in this class? Asked Mr. Gerard. Mavis stood up for recognition as people stared at her, not surprised. That was a good one, Mr. Gerard said to her. He turned to the second script. Who is Etim? Just then, sounds of laughter emanated from the class. These 2 again. There must be a cable connecting their minds. The connection is magical, the class members said to one another. Etim and Mavis had left the class, holding hands to their hostel and smiling as they ruminated what happened in class. And to think we didn't sit together, Etim said. Exactly. If we had sat together, the class members would have concluded we copied each other, she said, smiling. Our connection surprises me a lot. It's as if we grew up under the same parents. Even my siblings don't have this kind of connection with me, he said. Just then, his phone rang. He picked it. John, how are you? It's been a while, he said. Then listened for some minutes. I will get back to you. He heaved a sigh after the call. Mavis asked him what was wrong. He explained. He wants me to come and be one of his groomsmen for his introduction tomorrow, he said. Tomorrow? Mavis screamed. He nodded. Mavis was quiet. I am not going, he said. Yes, you are not. It looks like an afterthought, like he didn't have you in the plan before and someone failed him, she said. Exactly. I don't like that. They went their separate ways. True to his words, he didn't go for the friend's event. He had received a call from the friend, telling him how disappointed he was in him. He hissed. Some weeks later, Mavis was at a blood donation center in the school. Red Cross officials had come for their yearly health program, which included blood test, sugar test, and blood donation. Mavis has a culture of donating blood every time they come. After she was tested, while waiting for her turn, Etim passed by and saw her. Hey, Etim, what are you doing here? She asked. I am going to the market. What are you doing here? He asked. Mavis was smiling. She always smiles when she sees him. I came to donate blood. Etim winced. Why? He asked. Mavis looked shocked at the question. Because I love saving lives. I've been doing it for a long time, she said. Just then, Etim dragged her out gently. What are you doing? You don't even fear for your life, he said. Mavis looked confused. Have you not heard stories of people who contracted HIV from unsterilized equipment when they went to donate blood? Even hospitals make silly mistakes, not to talk of ordinary Red Cross, he said. He held her hand and continued pulling her to follow him. Before Mavis could resist him, they had gone far from the place. But this is not fear, shey you know, she said. What is not fear is that you have not eaten well. You are trying to donate blood. If you collapse now, is it not me that will be worried for you? He said. Mavis laughed. She followed him to the market before going back to her hostel. You are back. How was the donation? Joyce, her roommate, asked as she entered the room. Mavis sat on her bed. I didn't do it, she said. But why? Joyce asked with a concerned look. Mavis hesitated. Etim discouraged me. Joyce was shocked. Why would he do that? She asked. He just doesn't think it is safe for me, said Mavis. But you have been doing this since your first year in this school. Well, there is always an end to whatever has a beginning, she replied as she removed her footwear. Joyce looked at her with a concerned face. Suddenly, Joyce asked her, Are you sure it's a good influence on you? She asked. Mavis looked at her in shock. Of course, yes. I wish I even knew him earlier. I would be on a 5.0 GP by now. Do you know how much my academic performance has improved since he became my friend? My academics improved a great deal. Same with him. We are both on first class, she defended, and went out of the room. Joyce chuckled. Some days later, Mavis was passing by the chemistry foyer on campus. Suddenly, she heard her name. When she turned to the direction of the call, she saw her two female friends, Sheye and Bridget. They haven't had any hangout since 18 took their place in her life, which was 2 years ago. Hey, besties, Mavis greeted. Who is your bestie? Tell that to the usurper who has taken our place in your life. When last did you ask after us, Mavis? Asked Bridget. Sheye stared at her irritatingly. Mavis was at a loss on what to say, so she stammered. We used to be best of friends from part 1 till part 2. Suddenly, you stopped having time for us. We tried to reach you, but you wouldn't let us speak to you beyond 3 seconds before you excused yourself. All the hangouts we used to have, you stopped coming. You replaced us with a guy. That's really shameful, Bridget said. I'm really sorry, my dear friends. I've been very busy. My department is a very hectic one, and Just then, her phone rang. Both ladies stared and listened to the call attentively. Yes, I am around the chemistry foyer. You are close by? Give me a few seconds. I will be there, she said. She ended the call. I'm sorry, I have to run along. A friend is calling for me. Please forgive me once again. I will try to make it up. Just before she could go, Sheye stepped forward. Let me guess. The friend must be Etim, she said. Mavis smiled. I will see you, she said as she hurried out of there. Both of them hissed. Soon, Mavis began to nurse the idea of being in a relationship with Etim. Etim also secretly nursed the idea. Their extreme similarities lingered on. People said it to them in their comments about them. One day, Mavis attended a relationship seminar on campus. Etim traveled home, so she went alone. Since she had started nursing the idea of starting a relationship with Etim, and she was also in her final year, she felt it was high time she started attending relationship seminars. The seminar had the title, Why You Should Not Marry Someone That Behaves Like You. It was a very catchy topic, and Mavis was interested to know more about it. The speaker did justice to the topic. He said it is good to marry someone whose values align with one's, but but not necessarily someone who behaves like one. He said marrying someone who behaves exactly like you can lead to stunted growth, as you won't be challenged to go outside your comfort zone. It also leads to boredom and predictability, which will in no time lead to resentment. He emphasized that intending partners should rather look for someone who complements them rather than one who behaves like them. He ended it with this statement: your partner should be strong where you are weak, bold where you are timid, and careful where you are reckless. Mavis went home ruminating on the talk. She kept personalizing the point and was trying to figure out if a relationship between her and Etim would be successful. Peradventure, he asked. She shook it off and continued her schedule for the day. Some weeks later, the university was celebrating her anniversary and they had an interfaculty debate competition as part of their program for the week. Mavis and Etim's department was the biggest in the faculty, so they were expected to present the speakers. The lecturer, saddled with the responsibility, had picked 2 people to represent the class, using the academic record in his hand. He picked Etim and one other lady. He presented them before the class. The class members wondered why he didn't seek their opinion, but they let him have his way. However, those 2 must first present within the class. If the students assess them as good, they can proceed to representing them. The topic for the rehearsal was given to both of them against the next class. The class dispersed. Outside the class, there were side talks as to how Etim and Mavis should have been paired together for the job. Mavis doesn't come close to Mary academically. The lecturer knows what he is doing. Felix had told Samson, who was listening to him. Felix, debate goes beyond academic prowess. Your oratory prowess is a very needful quality, which I doubt Mary has. Mary doesn't come close to Mavis when it comes to being outspoken, said Samson. Well, the day will soon be upon us. Then we will have our answers, Felix said. In the evening, Mavis had met with Etim in the library to help work on the topic he has been given. They worked together for hours, researching and gleaning points that will help Etim do a good delivery of the job. They worked far into the night. They left the library by 10 p.m. Etim had taken her to a canteen and bought her dinner. Thank you for being a good friend. I wish our friendship will last forever, he said. Mavis smiled. Oh my God, was that a proposal? She thought, as her smile broadened. Etim didn't say anything again. Soon, they went home. The D-Day came, and after everyone was seated, the lecturer called Etim. He was ushered to the podium with a clap. He took the microphone, and after he was done with the presentation, the whole class gave him a standing ovation. Boss for a reason, Odogu himself, said his colleagues. Afterwards, the lecturer called Mary to come and speak. She came forward in a black suit and sparkling white shirt. Her appearance was 100. The ladies clapped for her as soon as they saw her. Just then, she took the microphone and started talking. She had the stage for 10 minutes, and some members of the class were yawning. One of them had whispered to his colleague sitting beside him, "What exactly is her point?" "I honestly don't know," the colleague replied. Her friends were cheering her on. She has an impeccable use of the Queen's English, but her explanation was incoherent. People had a hard time having a grasp of her point. When she was done, the lecturer stood beside her and asked the class, "Yea or nay?" Majority echoed nay. Her friends echoed yes. The lecturer faced her. "To be sincere, I had a hard time grasping your point during the presentation. It was just not well arranged," he said. Mary faced him and was trying to do some explanation. But then the class started chorusing, "Mavis, Mavis, Mavis." That caught the lecturer's attention. "Who is Mavis?" Just then, the ladies beside Mavis lifted her from her chair. "This is her," Two ladies held her by the left and right side and took her forward. Let her walk now. Do you want to carry her? Some class members said amidst laughter. Soon, Mavis went to the podium alone. The lecturer stared at her. Welcome. So, the class members believe you are the savior they have been waiting for. Wanna show us what you've got? He asked. Mavis nodded. The lecturer gave her the microphone and stepped back. Confidently, Mavis started the presentation. Her first few sentences captured the audience's attention. She sustained it for a while and dropped another banking point that made their ears itch for the next point. When she was done, she received a thunderous standing ovation from her classmates. First lady. Another first lady is a counterfeit. No one comes close. This and more were the expressions from the various members of the class. The lecturer called Etim forward. He raised his hand and that of Mavis up and declared that they would represent the faculty. The class clapped while the lecturer left the class. Etim's friends went to congratulate him. Same with Mavis's friends who went to congratulate her. In the evening, both of them had arranged a meeting at their usual venue. They held each other's hands as they smiled sheepishly. We are such a beautiful team, Mavis said. You can say that again. They replayed what had happened in the classroom and they laughed. Soon, they started discussing how they would do a thorough preparation in order to emerge first in the overall competition. They discussed strategies and referred each other to watch videos of the most popular series of speech that had been done by great people in the past. Mavis did a quick search on her phone and called out some popular speech that they need to listen to and emulate. They also arranged dates for rehearsals. They decided to use a quiet lobby on campus 2 days later. While Etim and Mavis were going out together, Mary had passed by. Mavis murmured a greeting, which Mary didn't hear. She just passed by and went away. Why were you trying to greet her? Etim asked. You can say I changed my mind by lowering my voice, she said. You have no business greeting her. She saw both of us. She was meant to greet us, he said. Exactly, she is very arrogant. No wonder half the class doesn't like her, Mavis said. Oh, you noticed that too, right? Yes, I did, Mavis responded. She is envious of us, so we have to be careful about her, Etim said. The D-Day came. Amphitheater was the venue, and it was full to the brim. There was a high table for distinguished guests. There was another table for the participants of the competition. Just before Etim and Mavis could go to the stage, Mary had run to them. I just want to ask you if this point is included in what you have to say. She mentioned it, while Mavis and Etim looked at her with disgust. I discussed the topic with a senior colleague who had represented his faculty for 2 years at a role, and when I gave him the topic, he gave me this. He said it will really help you guys have an edge, Mary said innocently. Tim and Mavis stared at each other, made a eye-to-eye communication, and went into the hall without responding to her. Mary stood there, feeling embarrassed. After the accompanying activities had been done, it was time for the debate session. The first department gave their presentation. The audience clapped for them. The second department gave theirs. The audience clapped for them. Etim went off stage as the chief speaker, and when it was done, the audience stood up and clapped. Afterwards, the last department came out and gave their speech. Also received a standing ovation. Afterwards, the supporting speakers came up, among which was Mavis. When they were done, it was time to call the winners. Some series of announcements were given by the PRO of the university. Soon, the Dean of Education came up to announce the winners. He started calling the winners from behind. He called the third runner-up, second runner-up. Mavis and Etim's hearts were beating fast. Their classmates were eagerly expecting the results, happy that they had scaled through the last and third positions. Just then, the announcement was made. Etim's department was mentioned as the first runner-up. Etim was disappointed. Mavis's brightness dropped. The winning department was announced, and members of the department stood up where they were in the hall and chanted some victory songs. There was murmur in some parts of the hall. Some were of the opinion that Etim's department should have been the winner. As if reading their minds, the dean of the department called for decorum, and he explained that even though the other department had done excellently well, there was a point that they didn't raise, which the other department raised, and was the icing on the cake. The audience listened with rapt attention, while some intelligent students were mentioning it to their neighbors beside them. Just then, the dean mentioned the point, and some students in the hall screamed, "That is it. You got it, man," they screamed. You see, this point supersedes any other point that has been mentioned regarding this topic. This is the key point, and that alone gave our winners the upper edge. Etim and Mavis stared at each other in pain. The point was exactly what Mary had mentioned to them when they wanted to enter the hall. They had snubbed her and even mocked her on their way into the hall. Their classmates celebrated their little victory by singing outside the hall. The winner and the first runner-up were called to the stage to collect their prizes. Etim and Mavis were not happy, as much as their position was also a celebrated one. Their preparation was for the winning seat, not that of a runner-up. At this point, Mavis began to reconsider some things. She wondered if it was a sensible idea getting married to someone that thinks and behaves like her. If only one of us had agreed to listen to her and talk the other person into considering her point, this wouldn't have happened, she thought. When they were getting out of the hall, some of their classmates congratulated them, while some ignored them. Some even eased. Mary was talking to some ladies when they got out. They saw Etim and Mavis and burst into laughter. Mavis felt bad. She knew for sure that Mary must have told them what happened. She said a quick goodbye to Etim and went to her hostel. Etim too wasn't in the mood to ask her if she was okay. He also went to his hostel. "She should not have cooperated with me when I rejected Mary's advice," he soliloquized on his way home. "Wasn't he the man? When I was emotional about it and went in, why couldn't he be logical?" she muttered. Individually, they were disappointed at each other. Both of them ate failure with so much disgust. Due to this, a resentment grew between them, and they didn't reach out to each other for 2 weeks. Soon, they wrote their final exam. They were missing each other, but they were both arrogant people. It took the intervention of one of their friends who had seen Mavis pass by Etim without greeting him to bring them back. He had asked from Etim what was wrong, and he explained. He asked for his permission to step in, which he did. He arranged a meeting between both of them, a development both of them were happy with because they had missed each other sorely. They made up after the meeting and apologized to each other. 2 weeks later, they graduated. It was such an emotional departure for both of them as they lived in different cities. Etim promised that he would press the necessary buttons to ensure they do their youth service in the same location. Mavis nodded happily. They departed for their different cities. They communicated on phone day and night. Mavis has been disappointed that he didn't define the relationship well enough before they left, leaving her confused as to who she is in his life. She worked for 6 months, interacting with elders and big sisters. She was becoming more mature than when she was in school. 6 months later, their call-up letter was ready. She had communicated with Etim, and their place of service was different from each other. Being the son of an important figure in the society, Etim worked his place of primary assignment to not just the same city as Mavis, but the same school as us. Mavis had been assigned to a secondary school. She had given him a big hug when she saw him. "Hey Tim, anything is possible with you. When you told me you would bring your place of assignment here, I didn't take you seriously. Now you are here. I'm so glad with this development. You should know me by now. I don't fail," he said. Mavis smiled. Mavis was happy. She looked forward to their relationship moving to the next level through their reunion. They decided they didn't like the hostels that the school made available, so they made up their mind to rent apartments. Both of them had gone to see an estate agent who helped them get two apartments side by side in the same compound. They both moved into their respective apartments the next week. They both loved the arrangement. Etim would go into Mavis' flat whenever he was bored, and Mavis would do the same. Soon, Mavis had a man that was interested in her in the environment. He was a young and handsome engineer. Mavis found him attractive, but she resisted him because she had eyes on Etim. She had shared the news with Etim during their leisure time together. Etim had jacked up and responded. "Hope you didn't say yes," he asked. "No, I didn't," she said. Etim heaved a sigh. She smiled. Mavis made some female friends in her corpus fellowship, but one stood out for her. Ella was the sister's code of the fellowship, and she had taken a keen interest in Mavis since she came. Due to their outspoken nature, it was easy to spark off a relationship between each other, and they became friends. Soon, plans were in place to make Mavis an escort due to her commitment to the fellowship. Just then, a thing happened. "Why are you attending that fellowship when there are big churches in town with great musicals? Do services there not bore you?" he asked. Mavis smiled. "Funnily enough, the former me wouldn't attend a church without great musical instruments and talent, but I guess I outgrew that. I just want to be in a place where I can serve the Lord and grow. I am not ready for theatrics," she said to Etim, who was relaxing on her couch. "This growth of yours is a bad growth. Thank God you accepted the fact that you were not formally like that, because the Mavis I knew had taste and class. Dear, you should grow into more taste and class, not into this," he said. Once again, Mavis insisted she would remain in her fellowship. Etim kept quiet. Mavis didn't know he was angry until after 2 minutes of discomforting silence, he left the room without telling her goodbye. Mavis was surprised, wondering what she did. "Is this about something else?" she soliloquized. She didn't change her mind. She continued going to the fellowship, where she was made the financial secretary. She had gone to Etim's house to pacify him. She took his favorite food to him as he was chewing the food. "You can't bribe me though. You will still do as I say. You are following me to my church," he said. Just then, Mavis asked a question. "What are we?" she asked. Etim looked at her. "What do you mean?" "We are besties now, besties of life," he said. "Just besties?" she asked. "Yes, though I am certain that this friendship will one day move to the next level." "I believe that day will come," he said. Mavis's brightness dropped, but she managed to keep a straight face. Few hours later, she left his house. She was tired of his indecisiveness, so she decided to give the man who had been on her case a chance. They started with talking stage. After 2 weeks, Mavis discontinued on the ground that they didn't have many similarities like the one she has with Etim. Before then, Mavis had been taken out on a date by Paul. When they were done eating, she had stared at her phone and hissed after reading a message. "What is it?" Paul asked. She explained how she just received a message from someone she wasn't on talking terms with and how she would like to keep it so. When someone is handling out an olive tree, don't keep waving the hatchet. You never can tell what tomorrow brings. Follow peace with all men, even if not friendship, Paul said. Mavis stared at him in disgust, wondering what was wrong with him. "We haven't even started dating. He's already disagreeing with me," she thought. At another time, the fellowship had an evening program and Etim had invited her to his church in town. She was at crossroads on what to do. So she discussed it with Paul. You hold a church, you are an ESCO in loyalty. You should attend other churches' program only if it doesn't clash with when your church has a program, he said. Mavis stared at him. Who gave him the audacity to talk to me like that? She thought. She compared his response to that of Etim, who used to agree with everything she said while on campus. Suddenly, it struck her that even Etim and her no longer had alignment of thoughts and actions like before. Now, they argued more and the friendship has even become very stressful for her. She has spoken to her friend Ella about it, who listened carefully. There is no such thing as two people's thoughts aligning all the time. One of you have been pretending since, and the person now has gotten tired of pretending. That is why you both are having issues, Ella said. The statement hit Mavis like stray bullet. Pretense? It's obviously not me, because I have been myself with him. Though I pretended once or twice to like some things that he liked. Ella stared at her. If you are serious about your life and destiny, you don't need someone that behaves exactly like you. Why would you? Have you forgotten you have a mountain of weaknesses? Yet you want someone like you? So how will a balance between your weakness and the strength you need to carry out destiny in life be created when the one who should complement you is behaving exactly like you? You need someone who complements you, not necessarily someone who behaves like you. You need someone who will sometimes say no to your desires if it won't be good for you. You only need similarities in values, she said. This is like the 100th time I have had this, and I think it's high time I took it seriously, Mavis said. She thanked Ella and went away. She got home and began to think of why she shouldn't consider Etim at all when he finally shows interest in her romantically. That's if he will ever, though. He has been hesitating since forever, she muttered. She began to recall the different flops that happened in their relationship while on campus, how she lost some opportunities simply because she wasn't in the mood to attend, and Etim said it was okay. She recalled her roommate Joyce's concerned look when she realized that for the first time she knew me, I dropped my devotions to people, which is donating blood to the helpless, just because of a man. She tried talking to me then, but my coconut head wouldn't agree. Though I will admit we were great together academically, she said. She also remembered how for once, Etim has never apologized to her whenever she was angry at him. The other time they had an issue that almost separated them, it took his friend's intervention for settlement to take place. It's been quite a while we even saw each other, despite living in the same compound. Where has he been? She said, suddenly jacking herself up and walking to his apartment. Big head, where are you? She screamed from outside and opened the door to the living room, just as she usually does. There, he found Etim kissing a lady passionately. They stopped and were shocked to see her. I have told you to always knock, fool, Etim said angrily. Oh, sorry about that, she said and hurried out. She stood at the door, glued to the spot. That I was with a woman wasn't the shocking thing, but she could remember many times Etim has told her he believed in a decent relationship and he isn't the type that would kiss or even have sex in his relationship. He has said it several times at various times. This made Mavis love him the more because she was the one that said it the first time, one day outside their lodge. I would like to honor God with my body. I would like to have a relationship with someone who won't kiss me or have sex with me till marriage, she had said that day. Etim had amplified it and said it 10 times at 10 different occasions. So, he has been the one pretending in this friendship. And to think I thought we were perfect for each other because we always wanted the same thing. She shook her head and left. hurt but happy she had her facts right. She began to do further study on what a real godly relationship should be like. She studied and prayed. She read books and began to see that Paul had many of the qualities that were listed in the books as qualities of a great lover. They had not been talking for weeks because Mavis had told him to stay away from her after her disappointment, finding out he doesn't act like her. He had respected that, like the honorable man that he is. She began to miss him. She prayed to God that he would connect them again if he was really hers. She decided to work on herself and not engineer any relationship. The next day, Etim came to her house to beg her. "I am very sorry. I didn't know what came upon me. I guess peer pressure," he said. "You owe me no apology. I am not your girlfriend. I'm only angry you called me a fool," she said, frowning. "Sorry, I said that in the heat of emotions. I have been depressed for a while now, seeing you spend time with some other guy. I guess it was me trying to get back at you," he said. Mavis looked at him, trying to make sense of what he was saying. "What do you mean?" she asked. Etim came close and held her hand. "I have always loved you, since school days. I want you to be my woman," he said. Mavis sat up. "But I asked you several times to define our relationship. You left me more confused at each time," she said. "That's because I wasn't sure if I was mature enough for that kind of relationship. But now I am sure," he said confidently. "Too late," Mavis said. Etim was shocked. He frowned. "What do you mean? Don't tell me you want to be with that guy," he asked. "We aren't even on talking terms right now, but I made up my mind few weeks ago that peradventure you ask for a relationship, it's already too late. I can't marry you, Etim, so there is no need to date you." This left Etim more confused. "Why can't you marry me? I thought we've been best of friends." "No one understands you as much as I do, Mavis. No one comes close," he said, with pain in his eyes. "I need someone who compliments me, not necessarily someone who behaves like me. Did you remember how many people our closeness caused us to be enemies with? Did you remember how you always encouraged me to cut off relationships when I was emotional about one offense they did? Instead of you telling me how to fix them, you rather encouraged me. Do you remember the debate incident? That lady made me her enemy till we finished from campus. She no longer responded to my greetings. I admit we are great together career-wise. Maybe we can be business partners later on. But for marriage partnership, we aren't good together," she said. Etim drew closer. "Who has been feeding you with lies? Hope you know there is no perfect relationship. These issues you mentioned are just the few hiccups that every normal relationship should have. It isn't enough reason for us not to date," he said. Mavis stood up. "I have always had my doubts about the publicly acclaimed similarity of thoughts and ideas that brought us together in the first place. I later found out one of us has been pretending. No two persons always have similarity in thoughts and actions. Your action a few minutes ago showed you've been lying. You told me several times that you won't do kissing and sex in a relationship. That was you doing it passionately. I don't want a pretender," she said, and walked away, leaving Etim disgruntled. Some days later, the Couples Fellowship had a very huge program that invited outsiders who lived around. Mavis was one of the presenters who called the guests upstage. Paul was there. He stood at the back watching her. When Mavis was done, she hadn't seen him earlier, so she just went to the door to do something. "Great job there. You handled the microphone like a goddess. Your parents must be proud," he said. Mavis looked back. Seeing him, she smiled. She came close. "However, next time, call people by the titles they want you to call them, okay?" he said with a smile. "Okay, sir." She smiled broadly at him and thanked God in her heart.